Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I hope you're doing really well. And you know, for me, it's just such a privilege to connect with you guys. It means so much to me to share Elvis with you. And, well, what can I say? Today, you're in for a special treat because I'm going to be doing something I don't normally do, which is talk about Elvis's movies. I just wanted to say that I'm really sick and tired of people ridiculing some of Elvis's films. People criticize the Elvis films because they're kind of cheesy, they're old-fashioned. People keep saying that the films are dated because most of them were made in the 60s, and just because something was made in the 60s, it doesn't make it bad. Doesn't matter what era it was made. But I do agree that some of the storylines were sometimes quite shallow and cheesy. Excuse me, guys. The films were repetitive with regards to the storylines, and they normally feature Elvis Presley playing the role of a charming young guy, a bit of a ladies' man with a wandering eye, and he normally portrays the role of a singer. And normally sings a bunch of songs in the film. He falls in love with a girl, he romances her, he gets into loads of trouble, and he resolves all this trouble. We get some fight scenes, and the girls get upset with Elvis, and then they kiss and make up, and live happily ever after. Like a fairy tale. They say that Elvis was wasting his potential as a serious actor when he did those films, and I do agree with that. In his life, Elvis wanted to be a serious actor. He wanted to try harder roles where he could show his deep feelings, and he wanted to act really well and be taken seriously as an actor. But the musicals Elvis starred in were made just for money. The movie makers didn't care about the storylines. They didn't care if the storyline wasn't special. They didn't care if the film wasn't exciting. They just wanted Elvis up on that screen so fans could buy tickets for the movie theaters. And with some of the films, they just added more and more songs to sell more records. So some of the songs were not really that awesome, you know, some were really kind of silly. And the thing is, these films, they were churned out really fast just to make the money, and they didn't care about making the films fun and interesting. But guys, here's the good part. Even if the films are kind of silly, they still have Elvis's amazing voice. They still have his charm, his charisma. So all those lovely outfits and the fun songs, the beautiful exotic locations, and you know, some of those songs, they gave us classic tunes such as I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. You have Jailhouse Rock, Return to Sender, Viva Las Vegas, Blue Hawaii, King Creole. These are the ones I can just think of off the top of my head right now. So, the films, they helped Elvis to spread his music to wider audiences, to spread his music to people from different cultures, different countries, and to people of different ages. Those movies were awesome because Elvis makes them awesome. I love the songs from the movies, and me, myself personally, I love those songs. And some of these songs became really famous. They became hits in their own right, and this boosted Elvis's popularity. Elvis lights up the screen. These movies were musicals. They were fun. Elvis lights up the screen, and these movies were musicals. They were fun, They were upbeat, they were funny, there was a comedy element in them with lots of dancing and singing and so much laughter in them and romance. It made people really happy watching these kind of movies because the movies gave out good vibes. They had that feel-good factor to them. That's how I can describe it. They made people smile and just forget their problems for a while. They just offered escapism. They were meant for relaxation and for leisure, and they were family films aimed for all generations, you know. It was just a clean, fun entertainment for the whole family. No violence, no swearing, no sex. Most of the music in the films was really good, as far as I'm concerned. And the soundtrack was so good. And some of the albums from the films, they reached #1 in the Billboard charts. And in fact, the album from the film Roustabout, it knocked the Beatles off the #1 slot. And fans got to see Elvis sing his new hits. Watching Elvis's films, you get to see his new hits before the songs were played on the radio. How cool is that, guys? You know, I love the scenery. I love the locations, the beaches, the beautiful beaches and the mountains within those films. That's another plus for me. Elvis films still matter because they provide valuable snapshots of mid-century America. It's the music style back then, the youth culture, the great pop music in its day. And anyway, guys, before Elvis started these light-hearted musicals, did you know he starred in some serious dramatic roles? He did some really serious dramatic scenes. His early films like Love Me Tender, Jailhouse Rock, King Creole were very serious films. Very serious dramas, thrillers. They showed Elvis had true potential to be a serious actor. And these films, they show us that Elvis could really act. He wanted to become a serious dramatic actor, but Colonel Tom Parker didn't give Elvis the opportunity to star as a serious actor. And it's to do with business and money, as always. The Colonel pushed him into doing musicals because the musicals and the soundtracks, they were making the money. And the Colonel was just interested in making money, as we know. So the attitude was, why fix it if it ain't broken? No. There's a saying, if it's not broken, why fix it? And in other words, he's saying, if the formula is working and churning out the money, you know, why go into the unknown where there's so much uncertainty, you know? So Elvis wasn't allowed to grow and develop as an actor. He wasn't allowed to stretch himself. He had so much potential, and it's a shame he wasn't given the opportunity to reach the peak of his potential, you know? Elvis looked up to actors like James Dean, Marlon Brando, and he wanted more serious roles. Tony Curtis, that's another one he looked up to. But the Colonel didn't want him to do dramatic parts. So Elvis wasn't allowed to stretch himself as an actor. He wasn't allowed to use his creativity and reach his full potential. So guys, if you're interested, I highly recommend you check out King Creole, Flaming Star, Wild in the Country, and the last film he made, Change of Habit. you'll be really impressed with Elvis's serious acting. You'll be stunned as to how good an actor Elvis really was, you know? He made the acting look so genuine and so effortless. He was a natural, you know? He never even had any acting classes. So I think he was underrated and underappreciated. And you know what? I love those musicals. I don't care what people say. It's not about the plot. It's not about the storyline. It's about the artist. We have Elvis captured on our screens forever. We have his voice, his beautiful face, his charm, and his charisma. And I just think Elvis had that special aura, or this mystical attraction that it's really hard to explain. That's why the movies were great. People fell in love with him, his voice, his smile, his mannerisms. Oh, you know, his cheekiness. He was a prankster. He was funny. He was playful, goofing around, pranking everybody. I loved his dancing, his smile. He was such a fun-loving guy. And apart from the musicals, Elvis made 2 concert documentaries, as we know. I really like those documentaries because you can see Elvis behind the scenes, you know. These documentaries capture Elvis at his peak level, where he was very energetic, he was vibrant, he was at the top of his game, vocally, physically. Just look at the footage. The footage of his performances was stunning. You get to see a glimpse of the real, true personality of Elvis. Just being himself, you know, just interacting with the audience and the members of his band. You know, it's wonderful to see him that way. And in fact, Elvis on Tour won the Golden Globe Award for Best Documentary. The camera work and the editing was really good for its time. You had the flamboyant costumes he wore on stage, and just Elvis's presence, his stage presence, and his wonderful voice, his powerful voice was electrifying. And you know, in the 1970s, the new technology was introduced in making these films. You have new techniques. You had Elvis filmed on split screens, and that was really modern and really dynamic during that time, you see. But the magic was Elvis himself. That spark he had, that's what made the movies great. Elvis. He was a very unique person and so talented, very gifted. And he was a very deep person psychologically, very philosophical, very mystical person, magical. He had this aura, special attraction that pulled you in, you know, like, can't explain it. A searcher, a very warm and tender person, and very sensitive. And whether Elvis was driving a car, playing the guitar, flying a plane, in the films, or surfing, flying helicopters, or driving racing cars, it was still magic. Sometimes I get a bit sad watching his films because I wish he was still here. Because his films, they gave us so much joy, just like they did when he was alive. We just have a treasure chest full of films and songs, live performances for us and for new generations to enjoy, you know. And because he won't be forgotten. In a way, it's like he's still here, because we remember watching his movies as children, and we relive the joy we had watching those films. Watching the films with our parents, our grandparents. It's just nostalgia. Dancing around in our living rooms, recreating his music, singing along to his songs. He gives us joy and excitement, just like he did all those years ago. So, um, his films refuse to die because they mean a lot to us. He brought something so pure and so magnetic to the films. It just feels so magical. We feel really connected. We felt the connection to him. Not many artists can achieve this kind of connection with their audiences, you know? So, guys, it's not about the storyline of the films, it's the way Elvis made you feel. The songs he sang, um, they felt very intimate, as though he was singing to you and only you. His songs, his movies are like time capsules buried deep in our minds and our hearts. And every time we press play on those DVDs, on our television sets, or on the internet, we are keeping a piece of him alive. And for me, Elvis wasn't this big superstar. He was just this gifted boy from Tupelo who wanted to sing and he wanted to make people happy. I connected with him on a human level and a kind of spiritual level. A spiritual level that's difficult for me to define and describe it in words. Really, I just can't do it. Although he left us far too soon, we still have his movies and his songs to remember him by. And thank you, Elvis, for making the world a happier place. That's all I can say, really. So, guys, before I go, I just want to thank you all for watching. And if you found this video interesting, drop a like and don't forget to subscribe. And share your favourite Elvis film in the comments. And see you next time, guys. I love you. Take care. Take care of yourselves and each other. I love you.